0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a fully mechanical, fully 3D printed 7-segment display, and it's by far the coolest thing I've ever made on my printer. I'm going to explain how this works and show you the process of putting it together, but first, credit where credit is due. This was designed and engineered by a fellow creator named Engineezy. He used to be called JBV Creative. If you like my content, I promise you'll like his. I'll have his profile linked down in the description here. I'll also have a link to this STL on his store in my bio, where you can buy this model for yourself and build it. Anyway, let's jump right into it. The first really incredible thing about this display is it's not only entirely mechanical, but it's also fully 3D printed. Every single part. You don't require anything else to assemble it. Once you have them all printed out, you get a pretty intimidating pile of parts that looks like this. Now, my absolute favorite part of this build is how Engineezy replaced the need for screws and nuts and instead used this C-clamp system with all 3D printed parts. This is an incredible way to bond things together mechanically without having to need any external parts on a 3D printer. I was really impressed by how this all worked out. Now, despite all the parts, the actual assembly isn't too bad because a lot of the parts are just duplicates and you're just redoing a bunch of steps 7 times for every segment on the display that needs to move. These pieces I'm assembling now are the levers that will move back and forth to eventually move the actual display digits. And this part here is the knob that you turn. There's a little detent here, so there's a really satisfying click when you go in between each number. Then onto the knob, we're putting 14 of these things. These are called cams, and they all have a unique shape that correspond with the number that's being turned to on the dial. These cams are then going to push the pusher pieces that we installed before that will then eventually drive the numbers. I just want to again iterate how elegantly this whole thing is designed, and despite having so many parts, being pretty friendly to put together. Now at this point, most of the mechanical setup is actually done. Now all we need to do is add the actual number pieces onto the levers on the end on the front here. This will then allow us to display any number depending on where the top little dial is located. And just like that, the display is done. I am just so impressed by this thing mechanically, and it was a super fun project to put together, and it printed out really well on my Bambu X1 Carbon. Another thing I really like about this is, unlike a lot of other 3D prints, this actually has some serious practical use cases. You could use it to keep track of things every day. If you want to do counters up, you can print multiple of them and put it beside each other, or even better. And that's taking one of these. This is a servo. It's basically a little motor, and attaching it to the back of this thing, Engineezy built a bracket so this thing could actually be driven by one of these, which means you could tie this up to your phone or an Arduino and use it to like automatically count things. Maybe you want to build a clock and print multiple of them. There's so many use cases for this. If you want to see that, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think of this project. Thank you, Engineezy, for designing it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. By far my most requested video, today I'm going to be giving you guys a full tour of my little office workbench setup. First things first, for context, so you guys can understand how this is all laid out. This is my office, my little desk setup here, and then directly behind it, we have the bench setup. So when I'm sitting at my computer here, all I have to do is literally skirt my chair around, and I'm ready to go and tinker away. Now, the bench itself that everything is set up on is called the IKEA Roar, and it's actually designed more to be like garage storage, but you configure it really customizable, and I think it works really nicely in an office. It's affordable, and they even have this little planner thing where you can like drag and drop the different shelves and different items that you could use in the system. Really useful. This is how I built mine. And then along with the Bohr shelving unit, I also have these pegboards. They're just mounted on the wall. They're not actually part of the setup, and I use these things everywhere in my office. First up here in the center is my little workbench area. This is kind of where all the magic happens. So starting with the pegboard here behind the bench, this is all still very much a work in progress, and I do still need to clean this up a little bit. But the idea is this is all of the tools that I use most and want to grab at. So we have things like my snippers, ruler, caliper, measuring devices, little toothpicks for picking things out of holes, Allen keys, more Allen keys up here. We have pliers, little Extractor knife, tweezers, scissors, hot glue guns, screwdrivers, glue, tape, anything I would want kind of immediately and don't want to have to filter through drawers to grab. It's all here at a moment's notice whenever I need it. Also have this little IKEA lamp, which is of course hooked up to a smart plug. It makes for a really nice workspace illumination. Then this, I used to hide this away, but I just use it so often. This is a solder fume sucker. So this will suck in solder fumes whenever I'm soldering, so I'm not breathing them all in. I then got an extension cord run up here just for power whenever I need to test stuff. And then this is my modular power supply that does things like power my soldering iron, which I stow up here, as well as give power for any of the projects I'm tinkering on. Which brings me to this drawer, which is where all of the good stuff is. I won't go too into it, but this is my work surface. Down here I have a bunch of wires, Arduinos. These are just a bunch of electrical parts that I could use to build pretty much anything. This is my miscellaneous to be sorted bin, which obviously is very overdue. I have my voltmeter and a bunch of other little things, including this, which is an ultimate game changer. This is a little vacuum that I use to vacuum up the surface. This will eventually get mounted up on the pegboard once I'm done setting it all up. Here we have 2 bins. These are from IKEA. This has all my FPV drone gear, and this is just a bin I keep empty, and whenever I have a miscellaneous thing that I need to sort and is too big, I just throw it in there and then deal with it after. And down here is just organized storage, mostly for like PC parts or miscellaneous electronic stuff. Now, moving on to the left side of the shelf, this is very 3D printing based. I used to have a CNC machine up here, which is now stored up top there. I had to replace that to make room for the X1 Carbon 3D printer. Setup itself, pretty self-explanatory. Up top, we just have some old boxes for electronics, mostly Apple stuff, you know me. Then we have all the filament on this top shelf here, and then of course the printer with the AMS, and then just some miscellaneous prints I made over the last few days. This thing is really dope. It's modeled by somebody named Lantern Lore, who's a pretty active member of my Discord and also a really cool content creator. Garbage can, more filament behind that, and then in here I usually store whatever active project I'm working on. For example, right now it's all the stuff I need for my InfoOrbs project. And more accessible storage in these bins here. These are things like power supplies, USB cables, HDMI cables, and one is networking gear. Now on the right side here, this is a work in progress that I really need to sort out, but the idea is that this is all my camera gear and anything I need for filming. Up at the top here, you'll see my little Casey Nice setup. This will pull down and I could use it for either filming as a white backdrop or to like write stuff on for videos. Cameras here, Sony's, my GoPro, some rigging gear and some lighting, another camera, and then this is kind of like my charging station, a bunch of USB ports here so I can plug pretty much anything in, whether that's batteries, mics, or anything. A gimbal, some extra phones that I use as cameras, and my FPV drone. Again, I'm not really utilizing a space well, and it's a big next step for me to really sort this all out. In the drawers down here, we have more camera gear. It's just batteries, some wires, audio stuff, rigging stuff. Again, this is all very filming based. Second drawer down here, this is more just like normal tools for around the house, not necessarily like tinkering based. And this last drawer is my hobby drawer. This is all my watchmaking stuff, a small amount of my smart home stuff, as well as my keyboard stuff. Below, we just have a boring old 2D printer and then some more storage. Anyway, I wanted to make that video for two reasons. One, because you guys have been asking for it for a long time, so I wanted to ungatekeep the setup and show you guys. And two, I really do want to, now that I've been using the setup and understand how I utilize it, optimize these pegboards, 3D print better storage, fix this whole camera gear setup so everything's available at a grab length and I'm able to print all the custom holders for it. And I want to keep myself accountable to that. So the next video you guys see on this setup will be me 3D printing all new holders and things for the pegboard. So we're gonna have this all cleaned up. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.